I am Robbie. I know Visit East of England through a consultancy that I work with called Mayple. But today I am under the banner of Narrative, which is a company that I run. And Narrative is all about email. So this is what I'm talking about today. So let me just, before I go into the next slide, let me just ask, how many of you write or send or receive an email every day? Is that 100% or 90%? Okay. So you're kind of like in the general the average mean there. So this is just across age ranges. So this is relevant for the last couple of years. So yeah, so essentially 90% plus of people send emails every day. And actually, I think a lot of these stats because people are on holiday. So generally every day. Now let me just remember what was the next slide. How many of you, what's the first channel that you use in the morning? So for example, it could be just, shout out social media, email, checking company internet. What do you do first when you wake up in the morning? What do you check first? Social, WhatsApp?
Yeah, social, BBC News,
okay.
Then I get depressed and change.
Actually, 58% of people check their emails first in the morning. So WhatsApp and social is about 14%. I think that's probably changing, but still 58%. Now, how many of these do you agree with? The top 3 unsubscribe reasons.
Sorry.
Oh no, on you coming.
Too many emails.
Yes, I'm going to hide that. What's the number one reason you unsubscribe from an email?
They bombard you.
Bombard you, right. Yeah. Too many emails. What else?
Not interested. Don't know how I got onto the list.
Don't know how you got onto the list, not interested. Okay, cool. Yeah, so these are exact ones. So too many emails, number 1. Absolutely number 1. Number 2 is they're just no longer relevant. And third is, actually joint second, is they just don't know who you are. They don't remember you. So when I put in the synopsis to Holly about today, one of the things I said was we would be safeguarding privacy. So how do we actually safeguard users' privacy? I actually realized that it wasn't so much around privacy because privacy is important, but privacy is more technical, and this isn't going to be a technical workshop. What's far more important, but actually relates very closely to privacy, is trust. So if I can kind of convey one thing to you today, it would be to leverage email in the same way that you leverage human relationships. Because that's actually what they are. And just because there's this bit in between us and the user that you're sending an email to, doesn't change the fact that it's still a relationship. So if there's one thing I can do today, it'd be to get you to think about emails just differently. Okay, so tell me at the end if I get you to that point and if I fail. So there's a concept that I think is really interesting to learn, and it's this idea of push versus pull. So this is kind of, so back in the day I used to do tech sales, so I would do a lot of like outreach, direct outreach to people, and that would be push marketing or push sales. Pull marketing is when you're essentially attracting people to you, and you're allowing them to choose to come to you. So a really good example is like everyone's been to Fraser's, or if you fancy going down to Harrods or something like that, and you're walking through the aisle and they've got perfume, they've got all these different things. Now, give me, someone shout out an example of when in the recent years, if you like, when was the last time someone actually stopped at one of these sellers and gave them some time?
Usually if it's food.
Okay, so if it's a sample, and it's, and you're hungry, okay. What did they do to get you over?
They just had the stand there, and I saw the food, and
Okay.
I went.
So that's absolutely perfect. That's pull. Okay, anyone other than food? Anyone else? Anyone get another example that's like more of like a product that you wouldn't have immediate gratification from? Not really, eh? Not really, eh? Not that many. So I'm actually just back from Dubai. My sisters live in Dubai, and Dubai is, the culture there is very kind of, you know, it's the market seller culture. So everyone's going at you for stuff, and most of the time, I just ignore it, and you know, walk around them. But there was this one time I was walking down the boardwalk in this place in Dubai, and one of the sellers, I could smell it. I could smell them like meters off because it was a perfume seller. And they caught my attention, but they stayed where they were, and they shouted out, how would you describe the scent of freshness? And honestly, I just couldn't not answer the question. I was like, walked over, I was like, I can't even think of what to say, but how would you describe the scent of freshness? Or do you have something that you can show me that is fresh? And they said, yes, here you go. So they gave me this, the sample, and I smelled it, and they thought that was great. And they said, would you like some? And I said, I'm actually fine. I've got my own stuff just now, but look, that was great. And we had a little chat, shook hands, off I went. Now, in that situation, what am I thinking about that seller? I'm thinking, really nice, interesting. I don't need perfume right now, but I can come back later. And I might even refer them to that person. Now, that's pull marketing. Push marketing would be if that person walked straight up to me with a perfume sample, put it in my face, and then just shoved it in my pocket and said, off you go, and if you want some, you can buy some. Now, what would you do if someone did that? You know, you maybe lamp them if you're in Glasgow, you know, or in Norfolk, you know. So, you know, you wouldn't go back to the stall. You would avoid them at all costs, yeah. Strangely enough, though, that's how we act when we email people. And the sad thing is that when we get it right first time, we often get it wrong the second time. So the first time, if you do all your work right and you're attracting this person in, and they are, you know, you've met them, and then the second time you want to interact with them, you push them something that they didn't ask for. So this is the kind of, again, this is one of the things I want to get into your minds here, is that just because someone's on your email list, just because someone said, yes, I might be interested once, doesn't mean that they're interested for everything that you offer them. And I'm going to give you some strategies to actually segment and figure out who is interested, okay? Okay. Make sense so far? Yeah, push versus pull, yeah? So this stat is really important to bear in mind, and this kind of, it's like, I probably should have put a slide up with like Morpheus, you know, the red pill, blue pill thing, because once you've understood something, it's hard to kind of, it's hard to forget it. So this guy, Dean Jackson, in my world is a legend. In everyone else's world, probably not so much, but he's probably the oldest marketer ever. He was like one of the madmen who did, you know, marketing campaigns to millions of people. So he's probably got the most data on user behavior, especially around email, than any other marketer in the world. And what he looked at is all of his clients' data, and he found that when someone converts into an email subscriber, only 15% of that audience will convert into a customer within 3 months. The people that will actually convert into a customer, that have the propensity to convert, will convert over the course of the next 18 months. So basically what you're doing is, when you look at your email list, you can only really expect 15% of that business to come through. All the rest of the time, you've got to be staying relevant. And you've not got to be asking for the sale, because people aren't ready to buy. So it's a hard thing to get into the mind, because of course when we've got new offers and we've got discounts and all that stuff, we want to send it to people. But that stat alone, just if you know, I mean, let me ask you, does that stat make you think differently? Just on the face of it, does that stat make you think a wee bit differently? Yeah. Right, so let's go into something that's kind of more marketing philosophy, yeah? This is like real stuff now. So this is where it gets serious. This is where it's going to change. So I don't know if anyone else have been receiving massive amounts of spam emails recently from Gmail. Is it just me? So anyway, there's been a lot of spam going around recently, and it's all to do with emails not being set up properly. So this was back in, I think it was October last year, Gmail introduced this new regulation that says that people need to have their emails properly authenticated. Not going to bore you with all of the, the acronyms and what they mean, but if you can write these things down, whoever does your email marketing, these things are going to be not just important for your emails getting into someone's inbox, but it's going to be super important for your reputation as well. So very briefly, the top one looks after, it protects where your emails are coming from in terms of the server. I won't go into any more detail than that because it will bore you. The second one, the DKIM, that actually authenticates your domain name. So that means that people from other domains can't pretend that they're you. The bottom one adds another layer to that, and that's in the email from address. When you see from, that essentially authenticates that being the correct sender. And what it also does is it sets up a reporting mechanism for organizations to make sure that who's sending emails is who they say they are.
I had a Gmail problem with my actual main business email address, and when that came in, every time I tried to reply to an email to someone who sent me a request or a booking with a Gmail account, it would bounce back.
Okay.
And I had to then get the guys who do my website and my email and that kind of stuff to do exactly that.
To do this.
I could not send an email to a Gmail account.
There you go.
3 months, it was horrendous.
There you go. No, that's interesting. Yeah. So that's something they've probably introduced even already.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Yeah. Well, this is an example from last year. Now, I'm giving you this story. I'm not saying that what I found out or what I did was the cause of this. Hopefully not the cause of this, but it was certainly a flag that was raised at the time. In December 2022, so just last December, my little sister sent me a screenshot of an email that she got from the Royal Mail. And in the screenshot, the email sender was the Royal Mail, and it was the root domain, which is the bit after the @ sign of the Royal Mail. And it looked like the Royal Mail message, and it had a button that you would just expect to be the Royal Mail, but she had no clue about what the thing was. And she sent it to me because she kind of knows I'm into email, and she said, "Rob, what's this?" And I was like, "Well, do you remember sending it? Or do you remember ordering anything?" "No." "Send me the email." So she sent me the email. I looked at the email, and literally the email was the best spoof I've ever seen. The hackers had spoofed the email so well that you didn't know that it wasn't Royal Mail sending that email. So immediately I actually tweeted Royal Mail, and it turned out that a friend of mine was one of the cybersecurity experts in there, and he picked up the tweet quite quickly and said, "Oh, that's interesting, what happened there?" So then they looked into it, but on January the 10th, 3 weeks later, there was a ransomware attack, and the ransomware attack generally are through spoofed emails. So it's usually social engineering that get you, and that's from someone sending you an email that says, "Can you click on this?" You look at the email, you go, "Oh yeah, that's whoever it is," and you click the button, and then you get ransomware on your computer, and then it compromises your system. So anyway, that's just one example that happened in recent history. Incidentally, Royal Mail managed to do this expert negotiation and not pay any money. I don't know how they did it, but they asked for 89 million, but they didn't get anything from them in the end, but they managed to get access to the system. So this is kind of, this is just something to note and to bear in mind. Yeah.
Quick one. If you're using Mailchimp or something, is all of this sorted?
It is, and it is and it isn't. So usually what Mailchimp will do is they'll ask to verify your domain keys. So that's the first part of that, the first 2 parts of that. So the SPF and the DKIM. Yeah. So they'll do that for you. Yeah. The DMARC, why DMARC is so important is, so DMARC stands for Domain and Messaging Authentication Reporting and Compliance. So essentially what it means is, if someone's trying to mess with you, The DMARC's going to let you know.
Right.
If you don't have DMARC set up, you don't know when people are trying to mess with you. So what happens with the DMARC is that when someone tries to hack your system or spoof your emails, you'll get a report to a set email address that says, by the way, there's someone at it.
Right.
Now, again, I don't want to go into this too much detail because it's kind of a big topic, but what you do over time is you call it evolve your DMARC policy. So it starts off by allowing anyone to email, but if it's not in your policy, you'll get an email saying, this person's trying to email. You'll still let it through. And the reason for that is that, if you can imagine, everyone has like Microsoft 365, MailChimp, HubSpot, all of these email services. If you don't specify every single one of those in your record, they're not going to get through. So when you start doing this, you allow everything through, but you will get notified of the ones that aren't actually in your record. And then over time, you'll be adding them. And then at one point, then you say stop and not allow anything else through. And it's a really good question because Royal Mail actually did have a DMARC record, but they hadn't evolved it. So they were still allowing every email through, and they just hadn't picked up on the fact that people were spamming them. Because if you can imagine, it's just someone monitoring an inbox. All these things come, and they just miss it. So really what they should have had is their quarantine. They should be quarantining these emails, especially for Royal Mail, huge company. So if you guys do this, by the way, I would imagine there's, your SMBs, but you're also maybe some travel boards in here as well. In terms of SMBs, there aren't that many people doing this because you're not really a target. Royal Mails are a target and these kind of things. So it's not, imperative, but I would say 100% do it. The other thing, I want to move on here because I don't want to get dwelling on the scary stuff. But the other thing to bear in mind is that when you authenticate your emails, at the moment what's happening is with the Gmail spam policy, all your emails are starting to go into promotion folders. Yeah? So they're going into promotion, they're going into spam. And a lot of the reason for that is because you haven't authenticated them. So there's just a better chance of you getting into the inbox if you do all the DMARC stuff. Take a note of this website. So this is one of my websites up here, Northbound Digital. And it's really easy. All you just do is plop your website, your domain name in there, and this website will tell you for free whether your DMARC and your DKIM and your SPF record are valid. And what you're really looking for here, actually I've got a wee laser pointer here, don't I? What you're looking for here is the DMARC policy becomes quarantine and reject. So this basically means no one can send emails that I haven't defined in my record. This isn't difficult to do. You just need someone with a little bit of knowledge. Whoever set up your web server, they should know how to do this really easily. Even after this, I can, if you've got a question, you can ping it to me. I can just send you the record. It's really, really easy. It takes a couple of minutes to do it. The hard part is to actually evolve it. So over time, make sure that you're capturing all of the emails that come through. So you're allowing all of your email services to send emails to your customers if they're your email services, but you stop the ones that aren't. Okay, enough of that. So, anyone know this guy? Wow, okay. So, I would highly recommend checking this guy out if you're into marketing at all, specifically email marketing too, is Seth Godin. He's kind of like, in my circle, he's like would be called like the OG of marketing. He has a program called the Alt MBA, of which I'm an alumni, and in that program, it's like a 30-day workshop, leadership workshop, where you essentially build businesses with people, and a lot of that is, building, landing pages, email series, and that kind of thing. He came up with this concept, permission marketing, 20 years ago. It's really crazy to me. It's 20 years ago, and still people aren't doing it. But this idea that unless you actually give people, unless people give you permission to to give them something, like the example with the perfume seller, then one, they're not going to trust you, and two, potentially you're not even going to get your emails into the inbox anymore. But there's another reason why permission marketing works so well. I'll tell you that in a second. It's just an example of the bad. This is one from this year. This is one from literally just this month. So in Dubai, I registered for an event called GITEX, one of the biggest startup events. I was going to be speaking at it, but that didn't work out. All I did was email one person talking about a speaking slot, and they added me to a list. And what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 10 emails I got over the course of a month, and I didn't open one of them. And in fact, it was just looking for an example for this workshop. I looked and I was like, God, they've all gone into my spam folder. Basically what that is just, one, it's ruining their email reputation because Gmail's picking it up as spam, and I'm saying, yep, it's spam, keep it there. And it's just a waste of their time and a waste of their energy. So that's like the bad. This is a video from an email service that I use, and this is showing you what's actually happening when someone sends people an email. These email services are not only sending them to spam, but they're actually asking you straight off the bat, do you know this person? And if not, literally the button is, no, I don't know this person, and you'll never get an email from that person ever again. This is a new service, but it's going to be coming more and more. So someone emails you for the first time, and you have the option there and then, do I want to receive this email? Yes or no? No, and that's it. You can forget it. Never mind spam folders. You're just not emailing them ever again. So this is where it gets kind of, you start to see how important it is to start building this trust and start to build these strategies in. So what's a good example? And I'm going to get you to do something in a minute to see if I can get you this into your mindset, because again, this is not in the mainstream, and it doesn't work all the time, but it's a concept that if you can use and you can get into your minds, you will massively increase your engagement rate from your subscribers, your trust, and further down the line, according to Dean Jackson, your customers. So there's two different types of bridges, as we call them. The first one is called a soft bridge. Okay, so this is one way to get permission. We're talking about permission marketing here, yeah? So this is one way to get permission. Why we call it a soft bridge is because the person isn't actually explicitly giving you permission, saying, click, I give you permission, but you are making it as easy as possible for them to say, I don't want this. You're not hiding your unsubscribe link in the footer. You're saying up front and center, right at the top of the email, by the way, you have done X, Y, and Z. Therefore, it seems like you're probably a good fit for this promotion, offer, whatever it is. But obviously, we don't know that for sure. And if you'd rather not get this email series, just click mute and we'll unsubscribe you. Now, what that does is it does a few things. Number one, it conveys trust. So it shows you that that person is actually, they care. They're like, we're not going to bombard you with crappy emails if you don't want them. So that's immediately building up trust. But what you're also doing is you're actually making it more likely that that person is going to read your emails because you've given them the opportunity to say, no, I don't want them. And now the fact that they've not actually taken that action, in their minds are thinking, well, I could have said no, but I'm not going to say no. Therefore, I'm probably going to read these emails because otherwise they'd have said no, wouldn't they? And there's a principle I'll tell you about in a second that actually that teaches you this. This is a soft bridge that we used with a client just the other day, and it's worked really, really well. So this client is they're actually an e-learning provider, and what they had was they had a process where a lead would come in to their lead funnel. If they clicked on an email or they clicked on an email series X number of times, a lead would be sent to the sales team, and the sales team would then start to follow up. the client didn't like that idea because the sales team weren't following up, and they were also following up with stuff that was just kind of random and spurious, and she didn't have control over it. So what we did was we built an automation that measured the number of clicks that people were getting in the email series, and then automated an email to them that said this. I noticed you clicked a few more links in the last email we sent versus our average subscriber. In my world, this often means people are looking for more information they can't find online or in an email. However, it could also mean zilch. So I just wanted to check if you prefer not to be contacted by our team. If you'd rather not, just click the button below and we'll leave you in peace. Otherwise, we'll reach out over the next few days. And about half the people clicked leave me in peace. And those are the exact people that would have wasted the sales team's time and just been a complete waste of time for the business. And people have been getting pissed off because the sales team are calling. See the people that didn't click leave me in peace? Those sales people are following up with them at a connect rate that they've never seen before, because they've been given the option, do I want to speak with them or not? Well, I didn't say no, therefore I'm kind of open to it. So that's an example of a soft bridge. The hard bridge. Now, the hard bridge is when you are, a soft bridge is good for when you're going to connect with someone, send them some more information, give them more information and connect. A hard bridge is when you're trying to sell them something. So a hard bridge would be like, we have an offer, we think you're good for it, we're going to add you to this series, and it's going to end with an offer, let's say a promo code, or it's going to end with an invite to something. At that point, what you want to do is, if you're going to sell someone something, you've got to get them to opt into that sales process. Now, again, it not necessarily works for every single seller, but it's a fantastic way of driving commitment and consistency. And this is the thing that actually underpins the philosophy of what I'm talking about. So there's this guy called Robert Cialdini. He wrote a book called Influence. And what he found was that people actually strive to be consistent with what they tell you they are, who they are, and what they do. So if someone actually takes an action, they're far, far more likely to actually follow that action through right to the end. So this is why it's really important to use hard bridges for sales series when you're actually trying to sell someone something. It basically sets them up to be sold to, and it gives them the option to not be sold to. So the way this works is, if you can imagine it with a large subscriber base, usually what people look at is they look at open rates, they look at click rates, they look at click to open rates. Meaningless. These stats are absolutely meaningless. The only stat that's important is your customer acquisition cost, your average cost per order, your revenue per subscriber. That's the cost. That's the metric that matters. Every other metric you can just forget, because people might just be reading your emails. So when you implement this, what you'll see is a lot of your stats will go down, because not everyone is actually receiving all your emails, but your revenue per subscriber will go up. Over time, what you want to do is you actually want to segment inactive and unengaged users out of your list and only work with the people, only send offers to the people that are engaged. And this will change over time. But what you're doing is you're actually putting your best foot first. You're putting the effort and where it's needed. You're not spending time spraying and praying across your entire list and actually getting very little results. Go for it.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So I understand that where you've got a product and you're looking at that revenue. I run a DMO, Destination Management Organisation.
Okay.
So we're sending emails out to inspire people and to engage people to look at the overall destination.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have, so open rates and click rates are important to us because that is showing us a level of engagement that we are interested in, because we don't have a final product. What we're doing is we're driving people to potential customers,
Yes.
but we are not that end product.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify.
No,
what
you're
we're
right.
talking
You're
about
right. And apologies.
is-
Yeah, no, you're right.
No,
Yeah.
is if you've got
Yeah.
a product,
Yeah.
if you've got a room to sell, if you've got an attraction to sell, if you've got whatever, then that I totally get.
Yeah.
But slightly broader.
Totally, I get
we're
you.
not. Okay, cool.
So yeah, so I'm so glad that you said that, and apologies for this. So my where I normally operate is in the startup world, where there is a product to buy at the end of it.
Cool.
And funnily enough, when we started working with Holly, advertising is one, and just basically getting clicks through to our website does actually equate to revenue at the end of the day, because you can show that value. Yeah. What I would say is totally, and I agree with that. Then what I would look at is the next stage of attribution. What is actually happening when that customer goes through and clicks? What's happening with what are they doing at the end of that?
Exactly.
Now that's a really difficult thing to do. Attribution is probably one of the hardest things in marketing. It literally is, to try and attribute sales to stuff, especially when you're doing, all the type of marketing that you guys do. So I totally take your point, and also if you can segment your audience and provide them with stuff that's relevant, they're going to be far more likely to actually part with their cash wherever you're sending them. Yeah. But I take your point, and I think you've got to balance it.
And I'm probably in a.
Yeah.
The majority of people here probably do have product to sell, so don't focus on.
No, I'm so glad you said it, because actually the room is tourism, and so actually that's really relevant. Okay. How much time have we got left? Oh yeah, so your turn. So, pads and pens. Pads and pens. Oh yeah? You got a pad and pen? Go. Yeah, see, if I say something that isn't relevant at all, I really appreciate that you said that. Just say, Robbie, that's complete rubbish. It's not relevant for me. Do it, please do it. So really what I wanted to do here was just take a minute to write down one example of when you think you might be able to use a soft bridge in an email campaign for your business, and when might be useful to use a hard bridge, because it's so context dependent. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it doesn't make sense, but most of the time I would say it does in some way or other. So let me just I'll quickly go back to the slides just so you can get whoops. So yes, the soft bridge is they don't have to opt out or opt in specifically. They don't have to opt in specifically, they actually have to opt out. And the hard bridge is they have to opt in. Whoops. To see something next. Yeah.
Very practical, just to pick up the point. There's a few DMOs in here. We are not transactional.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what you said is very relevant, but it's different. We're not selling. We're promoting the wider world. So for us to create hard and soft bridges is a little bit more tricky, because that's not the world we're in. We want the businesses to create soft and hard bridges and encourage it that way. So when we're not transactional, this gets a bit more complicated.
So let me ask you then, with the DMO, do you guys have a newsletter?
We email out, God, I've got a plan to email 500,000 people next year.
Okay, great.
But it won't be us doing the transaction. That's to point them to businesses where the transaction will take place. And I lose the data thread when they leave my world.
Yeah.
And a small number of businesses will give us some data, but it's not complete.
So what, when you look back at the first stat, or I think it was the second stat, is why do people unsubscribe from your emails? Number one is that you get too many. Number two is that it becomes irrelevant. As DMOs, I would imagine what one of the key components of your business is to keep it relevant. So in that way, how do you keep that information relevant? is it who shouts the loudest from the partners, or is it more, okay, well, actually what I saw was there was something happening here. Maybe what we need to do is we need to follow that engagement pattern and then go and find partners to fill that gap. Yeah? So, one way I'm just kind of put off the top of my head here is, if you were to include, in one of your newsletters, or let's say, for example, you sent a newsletter and you got some engagement stats back. And then you fed those stats back to the partner. You said, by the way, guys, look, we got a bunch of clicks for this kind of stuff. But they didn't transact with the partner. The partner said, well, I didn't really see anything, Well, at that point, you can say, well, that's fine. We got all the people that clicked. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to segment those subscribers off, and we're going to send them all an email that said, we saw actually that you engaged with these topics that we talked about. The fact that you engaged shows us that you're kind of interested, but see if you're not, tell us. Otherwise, we're actually going to send you some more stuff that might be even more relevant to you. And then at that point, what you can do is you can be much more definitive with your attribution. I mean, you can still do attribution well. Even simple UTM tags should work, to make sure that you've got your links actually landing on the site and being reported on. You heard of UTMs? Just the trailing bit on the end of the URL. Basically, it's an easy way to attribute link clicks that go from you to your partner. Yeah?
I mean, the single thing that I've walked away with is you're unsubscribing it, which obviously I pay for every email I send. And I don't want to send to people that don't want stuff.
Yeah.
So the old school way of, hide your unsubscribe at the bottom, and thinking about ours is you can find it, but it's at the bottom. Top process.
Just that alone.
Reverse my thinking. So I'm going to go back, and that's a practical outcome for me for today, because I want a clean database. I want a message with truthful businesses.
Also, the unsubscribe can be at the top, but actually the SoftBridge wasn't an unsubscribe. That was come off that list. So they won't be sent information, that information anymore. They don't come off the whole list. I call, you've got soft unsubscribes and then you've got nuclear. And nuclear would be off the whole list. Be careful how you use that, because sometimes people just press unsubscribe and they don't mean to do it. So obviously just be careful with that. But at the same time, absolutely. See if you, every now and then, a nice list cleanliness tactic is just to say, guys, we're sending you emails, but you don't seem to be engaged. Do you want to be in this email list or not? Not. Great. Good to know. So that's another way to do it. Anyway, did anyone get an idea for a soft bridge?
Something like being in tourism or whatever, we might put a newsletter together coming up with things like either Easter, Christmas, Mother's Day, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You see sort of places like Moonpig and that, they'll say, if you want to opt out of Mother's Day, Father's Day, something like that, for people who might get upset, that could be a soft bridge.
That's a soft bridge. Absolutely.
I wouldn't do it, but yeah.
That's a soft bridge. And that's a really good one, isn't it? I like that one. Because people could be, it can be an emotional time for that reason. Builds trust. Also keeps your stats clean, because it means that you're not sending to people that aren't interested. So it shows that your actual proper performance on that campaign.
Yeah.
It makes it.
Be careful with your segments, I suppose.
You have to be more careful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's a good one. Anyone else?
So we could say something along the lines of, we think you might be interested in hotels with a sea view.
Yeah.
But if we've got this wrong, or, and then, so if you are, that, we'll send you more information on hotels with sea views.
Yes, it's a good one. It makes me think, that seems to be, so one thing to think of with these soft bridges and hard bridges, they're based on information that you have previously. So if you don't have the information previously, you're not trying to get that information. That would be for like a survey. You would maybe use interest groups for that. You would try and capture that at the source, or you'd send out surveys. Or you look at engagement. Yeah. Soft bridges and hard bridges, already that they've engaged on something. Yeah. You're just checking before you then go the next step. Okay. By the way, we're going to send you more on this. Soft bridge would be, we're going to send you more on this. Do you want this? No. Okay, that's fine. Sir?
Yeah, so we're an attraction, and I'm not quite sure whether we would use this as a hard bridge or a soft bridge, but we use the early bird strategy
Yep.
where we'll reach out to existing customers
Yeah.
or recent sign-ups and say we're going to launch this event, Christmas, pumpkin, for instance, fireworks, and say we're going to launch an early bird
Mm-hmm.
48 hours time.
Mhm.
If you want to have an opportunity to get your slot at a preferential price, tell us now.
Mm-hmm. So that seems, so for new sign-ups, the rules are slightly different because the brand new sign-ups, if you've signed them up based on this kind of promotion maybe happening in the near future, then they already have that in mind. If the promotion and the thing that they signed up for are totally different, that's when you use bridges. You know, so yeah, I would say I would potentially always use a bridge email, but you don't always have to. You know, the difference between not using it and using it is sometimes if you use one, you will miss some subscribers that would have bought from you if they just looked at their email and clicked the button. Over time, it's much better to use bridges because you get a much cleaner list and much more engaged subscribers. But if someone's just signed up and the connection between that sign up and what you're offering is kind of quite close, you don't need to use a bridge because they're waiting for that thing to happen. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Well, except that the notion, your confidence in creating a bridge can imply that there's going to be excessive demand. Demand will exceed supply. So get in early, get to the front of the queue. Tell us that you want this.
Absolutely. I mean, that's like almost like a deadline funnel. So you're giving them, you're using you know, kind of scarcity and you know, it's not false scarcity because you actually maybe have a set number of spaces, that kind of thing, or you need to plan at a certain date. So yeah, I think what you've said there is great, and I think you can use the scarcity at the end, and then it's just a case of how long has that subscriber been on your list for? How much do you know? How much do they know about the promotion that's coming? If they don't have a clue, if it's so irrelevant to what they signed up for, use a bridge. If it's generally what you do and they've just signed up and they're expecting something, you don't need to use a bridge. Again, you don't need to use any bridges if you don't want to. But I personally have seen great results with bridges. The thing is, it takes time. Back to the Dean Jackson stat, 18 months. It takes 18 months for all your people that could buy to buy. That's how long sometimes a bridge will actually take effect. It will only be at the end of that point. But if you don't use the bridge, you've lost all those people anyway because they're just going to unsubscribe or not listen to you. So it's kind of a patience game. It's a bit of a patience game. Okay. What have we got? I think we've got 5 more minutes. I'm going to run over a little bit here. And this might be a wee bit too much to take in after the last bit. But I can send you this deck and you can have a look at it if you're interested. How do you keep people engaged? Yeah, that's the big question. Because now you're like, okay, great, now we'll do the bridges when we get an offer and we kind of, you know, we've got some engagement stats. But how do you keep them engaged? You know, why do people open your emails? Is it because you've got, you know, relevant information that they're clicking through on and it's relevant offers from partners? I would say definitely part of it. But why else?
People like a story. I was amazed. We won an award last year, this year, and we sent an email out to all our customer database. We've got like a guest house, holiday cottages, that sort of thing. And it was just, oh, we've won this. We've got a little offer, but tell them all about it, pictures of the awards night, blah, blah, blah. And we must have got 100 personal replies from people saying, wow, that's amazing, that's fantastic, well done. Really lovely messages from people who'd stayed with us over the years. And I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And it was the story and that whole kind of relationship. And I was really blown away by the amount of people that bothered, because I wouldn't have known anything about that. I was amazed how many people responded.
Amazing, amazing. And you know, see, these times that you have when you got those things to leverage, not using them is crazy. Like, because, you know, you actually have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So, like, amazing. And, you know, just shows you all those replies that you get, which is also fantastic for your email reputation. People replying to you is great. So, yes, so stories. So stories are absolutely how to do it. And there's a concept that we use in the marketing world called soap opera series. And it's a similar way to how a screenwriter would actually write. What you're doing is you're chunking your email campaigns into soap opera series, which are stories that have a start, a middle, and an end, that go from somewhere to somewhere. They start at A, they go to B, then they go to C. And they within that series, they actually are helping them, teaching them something, being relevant, talking about current events. The difficulty is it actually takes a bit of thought and a bit of time, and also it takes time to get it right. But over time, if you can actually develop the habit of telling stories in your email marketing about your business, about your values, about what matters, connecting what you do to what's going on in the world, people are going to be far more engaged. So it's kind of like what we've all changed into is, rather than selling what we sell, we're actually all kind of like purveyors of ideas and news. And that's how we actually bring people to us and keep them engaged for the long haul. Because people actually buy things now, you know, it's all about the story. It's not so much about the product. In fact, I think Seth Godin said it, marketing isn't about the stuff that you sell. Marketing isn't about the products that you sell, but about the stories you tell. So soap opera series are great. And we're back to the hard bridges. You can amazingly engineer soap opera series with bridge emails. And this is where it becomes really, really effective. And I'm talking, for example, you know, an email conversion rate of 1.5% to an email conversion rate of like 35%. 1.5% of a massive list, 35% of a very small list, but the actual number of customers that you get at the end of it, oftentimes exponentially more. So if you can build your soap opera series and then insert hard bridges in there when you want to sell them something that has a relation to the story that you're telling, again, takes time to figure it out. But this is where, without being too crass, this is where the money is with email marketing. This is where the money is. Everyone has a Netflix subscription. Everyone has an Amazon, a Disney subscription. And when people are engaged, they're much, much more likely to actually to follow your path, the path that you set them. Just like I said before, one way to think about stories is, there's a great author called Robert Fritz, and he had this concept of what's called structural tension. So this isn't a screenwriting class. I've done some screenwriting before, but a really great concept to think about is where the person is right now, what their current situation is right now, and you're kind of guessing, what demographic is it, what do they care about, what are they thinking about, what struggles do they have, talking to that and then leading them somewhere else. And with you guys, I think with travel, I think it's like huge, there's an enormous opportunity there, because there's so many amazing benefits that you get from visiting places and travel and history. So using story power promotions as part of a soap opera series can be really, really effective. So this is like bringing it all together. So what I'm sending here, these are called value newsletters, or just newsletters. So you could be sending out your value newsletters, and within that newsletter, someone might click a link, and because they click that link, that shows you that there's a relevant story that you can tell that you set up. That link is clicked and that person is sent that soap opera series. And then within that soap opera series, there's a hard bridge, which asks them, by the way, do you want to be involved in this promotion? It could be a partner promotion. And then they're sent that promotion. So kind of like high level view, this is all automated, by the way, which is a great thing. So, you refresh these every 3-6 months, that kind of thing. But the great thing about this is you're newsletters are obviously being written all the time, and then the promotions and the soap opera series are automated. So, oops, I don't know how that got in there. So, your turn. Do you know what all I was wanting to do here is what one story could you tell that's relevant for your business right now, in the world right now? I'm kind of trying to make you think like a screenwriter. That has the capacity to flow into some sort of promotion in the that you offer just now. So I don't know, what was the example you used? The example of your subscribers, you're sending them to your list. They're going through, they're clicking on links, but you're not getting feedback from your partners. Do you have curated offers that you could work with your partners on, or do they have offers that they send you on a regular basis that refresh?
We have offers that our members can upload directly to on the website that we'll curate, that are curated, and we'll send those out.
Okay.
They can be food, they can be stay, they can be attractions, whatever, and we can segment those.
Okay.
Or we will work with individual partners as paid promotion to direct people straight to them.
Okay. So basically the bit in between that. So you've got your newsletter that's going out, and you've got a link that goes over and hits your partner. Think of something. I'm trying to think of something that goes in between there. What's the bit in between? We can use hard bridges, soft bridges, and soap opera series. So it's this bit here, in between your hard bridge. So just what I'm trying to get into your minds is what that actually looked like from a kind of an email perspective. 3 emails, taking a character, taking the prospect or your customer from A to B. What are people looking for when they buy from one of your partners? What are they? Why are they doing it?
Well, because they want to be transported somewhere else.
That's a great word. They want to be transported to somewhere else.
Out of their ordinary environment.
Yeah.
And for all different kinds of reasons, and that opens up a whole load of SOSs.
Yeah.
So and with the world around us right now, who doesn't want to be in somewhere calm and peaceful and tranquil?
Okay.
And actually associated with that can be, and here's one of our local food producers telling you what's going on right now in their business, because that will give you that authentic experience of what's happening here to help you visualise going from your desk at work to really being somewhere and giving you that little bit of a story. And actually next month they're going to be doing this, or they're going to be launching a new cheese or whatever it is. So potentially I can see the value of that SOS, of that more narrative storytelling to help really engage and authenticate people into place.
You've actually made that even harder than it needs to be, because if you can do that, that's fantastic. But you can also leverage existing stories.
Yeah.
Existing stories as metaphor, as analogy. Because everyone understands the stories that they watch on Netflix and they watch on TV. So you can apply the same format or the same story within your email series and then relate it to the promotion. So you're essentially using an existing bit of value to show the other person's value. But you can also tell the whole story of your customers as well. It takes a bit more work because then you need to work with the customer. Whereas you can create your own stories about stuff that you know about already. So get one person, can anyone that was a good example. So from A to B, anyone else? Can anyone else think of call it a story arc, or turn the front row because you're sitting there and you're looking at me. What's your one of your Are you in? What kind of business are you in?
I'm a tour guide and develop tours, and I'm food and drink sommelier.
Food and drink sommelier, and you develop tours. Okay. Do you have your own website, your own email list?
Yeah.
And that is, and your subscribers, are they coming through, one of these kind of Visit East of England websites? Are they mostly coming through
Mostly
your own?
organic, generated by myself.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. What are one of the main reasons that people come in?
They like cheese, they like beer, they like gin.
Right, okay.
I think you must have a very big subscriber list then.
And military history.
And is that all? Is that the only reason that they come and work with you? What
They also
other
think
than
I'm crazy.
okay?
It usually helps.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And what experience does that give them?
Hopefully fun.
Yeah, fun,
Yeah.
kind of escapism,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. So already I could think of a bunch of stories that you could use.
I've got lots of stories.
You've got lots of
Don't have
stories.
the time.
Right.
It's like, could you also give us a few hours and that sort of stuff, especially when you're a solo worker.
Okay.
It's very hard to find the time, and it's one of my questions is, how many times do you send an email to somebody? I get emails. One company sends me an email every day at 9:06.
Mhm.
I never open it. I have to have it because it's something that I'm related to,
Mhm.
but every day. I've got another one that contacts me once a month. That one I open. How often do you send out to actually have a rate that transfers that into an 18-month customer or something? Do you send them an email once a month? Do you send them an email once every 2 months?
Yeah. I hate this answer, but it depends.
Yeah.
I hate that answer, but it depends, and the reason it depends is that if look at your email stats. If your customers aren't engaging with you, the chances are they're not going to be interested in receiving your emails every day. If they're engaging with you, if you send them every day and they're engaging with you 3 or 4 times a week, yeah, keep sending them every week because it seems like they're engaging. But if they're not engaging anymore, you're essentially being probably bumped to the spam folder, and you can quite confidently say that you're not giving them value. So you just need to be looking at your engagement stats, and this is where segmentation is important. So that's one thing. Incidentally, just before you guys go, I gave you those lists, and I wanted to do this. You said you don't have the time, so I kind of create businesses for people quite a lot, and I spin up new stuff. Narrative is a new brand that I've started just recently, and it's essentially an email writing service. And what I've decided to do is, just for fun, is take your names in a hat, and at the end of the next session, I'm going to take everyone's name in a hat and I'm going to pull one out. And if you want me to, I can create you an email series to give you a sense of what that looks like. And then if you're happy with it as well, we could use it East of England for them to use it as an example for someone in this industry. So if you want to be involved in the prize draw, this is going to be a foundations package, which is essentially like an email welcome series. Put your name down. I don't have a hat actually. Just and then maybe just throw it at the table as you leave. And that's that. And so that's it really. Any questions before we go? I'm sorry that was a bit. I feel like there was a lot in there to take in, and so I hope I didn't bombard you with too much info.